Good afternoon. My name is Delegate Maggie McIntosh, Chair of the Appropriations Committee, and I want to welcome you today to the Appropriations Committee, where we are going to be doing voting on 6 bills that we have heard during the first 2 weeks of session. I am pleased to turn it over today to our subcommittee chair, who's going to present the first bill. Delegate Barnes, would you present House Bill 98?
Yep, thanks, Madam Chair. House Bill 98 should be familiar with the members of this committee. We did pass a version of this last year. It provides grants for various Maryland College Access programs. It does have a $200,000 fiscal impact this year. With that, I'd move favorable.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. We have a question. Delegate Kettleman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to get a clarification on this bill. There's something about matching funds in it. Could you tell me how that works? And is the pilot making it permanent? Have we been spending money in the past?
So these are organizations that we've worked hard on that do first generation, primarily college access. I believe, and Michelle can jump in here, Ms. Lambert, our committee counsel, that the organizations themselves are going to be required to match whatever state grants are made available, which is smart fiscal policy from a perspective of this Appropriations Committee. And we think that these programs have been great. Again, this is something we all, actually, I think you voted for as well last year, Delegate. So it's just a continuation of that same program and that we've all voted on last year.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Delegate. Any other questions? Any further questions? Okay, seeing none, I will just say, if everyone can voice vote on this, I'd appreciate it. So unmute yourself because I don't believe there's much opposition. And if there is, we will capture it. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Is there anyone opposed? Please raise your hand. Anyone is opposed? You may vote against the bill by raising your hand so we can count it. I see no opposed. Am I correct in that? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you, committee, for helping us work through this first voting session. Delegate Corman, would you present House Bill 133?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, colleagues. House Bill 133 is the Board of Public Works Budget Reduction Clarification Act. It makes 3 changes to the Board of Public Works interim budget cutting authority. It extends the notice period for which the Board of Public Works has to publicly notice cuts. It clarifies that it's 25% across a fiscal year, not 25% each time the Board of Public Works meets. And it specifies what the bill specifies that we mean the budget line item level is what it's 25% of that the Board of Public Works can cut. There are some amendments. Amendment 1 is technical. Amendment 2 changes the type of item the governor can reduce. Instead of line item, which is sort of undefined, we use the 8-digit budget code for Delegate Grice's benefit. If you want to cut WMATA, that's J00A0104. The Amendment 2 also changes the amount of advance notice. The bill has it at 10 days. The current law is 3 business days, which amounts to 5 days because of the weekend. The amendment brings it to 7 calendar days. So short version, under the amendment, the cuts would have to be posted on the Board of Public Works website 7 days, 1 week before the Board of Public Works meeting, so the Wednesday before. With that, I would move the amendments.
Okay, I'll second the amendments. All right, is there any discussion first on the amendments? Delegate Kettleman?
Actually, yes, I wanted to thank you, Delegate Corman, for the amendments. And were you able to talk with the DBM to see how satisfied they are now?
Right. So, yeah, so there are 3 provisions of the bill. Thank you for the question, Delegate. There are 3 provisions of the bill. One of them they had no problem with, which was clarifying it's 25% across the year. The other was they didn't like extending the length of the notice. So we've moved their way a little bit on that. And the other is they didn't like the sort of line item piece, haven't really moved on that. I emailed Barbara Wilkins and Secretary Brinkley this morning and have not heard back. Look, I mean, I'll be honest, if I had to guess, because of the line item issue, they probably still don't like it. But that's an issue that Secretary Brinkley and Senator Brinkley need to have out on their own mind and decide, you know, how much authority the Board of Public Works should have to do budget cuts during the interim. So,
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? No other questions? Okay. Why don't we first move the amendments? And again, I will move the amendments by voice vote, and then we'll take up the full bill and we can have further discussion if we wish. So on the amendments, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Is there anyone opposed? Please raise your hand. No one opposed to the amendments. Now, on the bill as amended, House Bill 133, any discussion? Delegate Beitzel.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome.
Just a question of bill maker, Delegate Corman. Basically what this bill does, right now, the Board of Public Works can't cut the budget overall less than, more than 25%. So what your bill basically does is prevent them from cutting line items in the budget by more than 25%. So currently they have the discretion, they can single out different programs and cut them more than 25%. This bill basically prevents them from cutting a program by more than 25%. Is that basically the basis of the bill?
yeah, that's basically it. I mean, under AG opinion, so it's not about the current governor or the current AG, these are long-standing. The provision of the statute has been interpreted to mean that it's 25% basically of an overall agency. So they could cut a program down to 0 within an agency without the legislative input. This would just clarify that it's at the eight-digit budget level, that they can't cut more than 25% of an 8-digit budget level. That doesn't mean when we reconvene in January and do deficiencies on the previous budget that we don't do that, but it's just what the Board of Public Works can do without us.
And if I may, Madam Chair, just
Go ahead.
more. So the basic, I guess the basis of the objection from the administration or from the governor's office would be that the legislature is taking away some discretion or administrative authority and puts more power into the General Assembly. Is that true? Is that what you're reading?
I mean, I think, not to speak for them, but I think the way they represent it is it reduces their flexibility when they're already doing something that maybe they don't want to do, which is make budget cuts. I would just say that unfortunately, even though my interest in this topic actually begins with the last administration, this administration actually has done budget cuts in the interim when it hasn't actually strictly been necessary. Now, I don't mean this past interim. Obviously, this past interim was a very difficult economic and budgetary situation. So I'm not sure I entirely agree with their representation, but I think their basic view was they want as much flexibility as possible. That's why 4 years ago, they didn't want any advance notice requirements on the budget cuts, something they've learned to live with quite well.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. All right, I see no other questions, so we're going to vote on this as well. And I'm going to try to do it the same as we've done the last two bills. Even though I do know there will be opposition to this bill, we're going to make sure all opposition is recorded. So first of all, voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right, any opposed, please raise your hand. I have one opposed. All right. Let me read the opposed so I make sure that I'm correct. Novotny and Mangione. Is there anyone other than Novotny and Mangione that should be recorded in the negative? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. We're now going to move to House Bill 189, Delegate Resnick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 189 is the mobile laundry for the homeless pilot program. This is a bill that we heard last year. It passed this committee last year 18-1. It passed the House last year 126-12. It is in the same posture that we passed it out last year, and the subcommittee passed it out 4-1 just yesterday. The bill essentially sets up a pilot program within the Department of Housing and Community Development to provide for a program to allow homeless people to be able to launder their clothes in order to be able to try and reintegrate back into society by having clean clothes for a job interview or having clean clothes to engage in other, personal relationships. So there are no amendments. I'd like to move the bill.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion on the bill? Any discussion on the bill? Okay, with no amendments, we're going to go straight to the vote on the bill. Have a motion favorable and a second. We'll do voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed, please raise your hand. If there's anyone opposed, you may raise your hand. Okay, we have 2 opposed. Am I correct that Mangione and Novotny are the only 2 opposed? Okay, very good. Thank you very much for that. We will now move to House Bill 251. Delegate Vice Chair Chang.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. This bill alters the Maryland Funding Accountability and Transparency Act to require that the DOIT, the Department of Information Technology, update payment data on the existing searchable website on a monthly basis by the 15th day of the month that follows the month in which the agency makes the payment to a payee. The bill also requires non-budgeted state agencies to submit their payment data for inclusion in the website. Also, the bill repeals obsolete language and makes stylistic changes. This committee heard and passed this bill last year in the last session, 23-0, and the House overall passed the bill 131-0. Motion to move the bill.
Thank you. Yes, Delegate Kettleman.
I don't think I have any problem with it, but I was just curious as to why the bill is there. I, having an affinity for the Transportation Authority, I know that's fine to tell what its budgets are, but I was just curious as to the reason that this bill is being put forward.
Well, I think the bill, what it does, it makes it more transparent and accountable that different items that are being paid out, that they're listed on the website and that the public can be able to view that. Also makes it even more transparent with the non-budgeted state agencies.
So there was no issue. It was just a matter of seeing something that could be more transparent.
Yes,
Thank you.
I believe that's correct. Thank you, Delegate. Okay, there are no amendments? Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am.
All right, we're going to move straight to the bill then. House Bill 251. We have a motion made favorable. I'll second it. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, please raise your hand. Delegate Kittle.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't put
Okay.
it down from before.
That's why I'm calling out your name. So I want to make sure everybody gets voted right. So there is no opposition. I thank you very much, committee. Let's move now to House Bill 258. Delegate Resnick.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 258, again, another bill that we passed out last year and is introduced in the same posture. This bill will simply create some additional and very necessary reporting requirements for our child welfare system in the state. There are no amendments. Again, this bill passed out actually unanimously last year, both at a committee in the House, and the current bill this year was unanimous in subcommittee. So I move the bill.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions? Does anyone have a question? Please raise your hand. And we got a motion favorable in a second. So all those in favor of House Bill 258, please signify by saying aye.
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 Is there anyone opposed? Any opposition? Please raise your hand so we can make sure you're counted. There is no opposition. The bill passes unanimously. Thank you, committee. We'll now move to House Bill 307. Delegate Barnes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, a bill that this committee is familiar with, House Bill 307, Delegate Rosenberg's bill that incorporates technology-based nonprofits into the existing based Maryland Technology Internship Program. It also lowers the GPA requirement for the internship from 3.0 to 2.5, as there was evidence that the internship program is undersubscribed. I move favorable.
Okay, no amendments, right? I'll second it. All
Amendments.
right. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor of House Bill 307 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Please raise your hand. I see no opposition. If I'm correct, the bill passes unanimously. Let me just say to the committee, this has been a great first run through a voting session virtually. Let's just remember always to be patient with one another and be patient with me, and I'll be patient with you, of course. And it has worked really nicely. I'm very pleased. As we move forward, as I mentioned to all of you, when we have bills of import and bills where we believe there is significant opposition or differences of opinion, we're very happy to call the roll to make sure that everybody is accurate. But I do thank you so much for this first foray into voting online, virtually. And I want everybody to have a great and wonderful and safe and healthy weekend. Thank you.
Is that